Hey everyone, welcome back to Surviving with Unglossed. This is the third episode and we are so excited to have you here. Today we're going to be discussing one of our favorite shows, The Traitors. So today in this episode we're joined by Ben. How are you doing today?
I am fabulous.
I'm so glad to hear that. And Tara, who you'll remember from previous episodes. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Amazing, thank you. And another member of the Unglossed team, Kira. Are you excited to go on The Traitors?
I'm very excited. I'm ready to go.
Perfect. Now we're all heading up to Ardros Castle in the Scottish Highlands. And this episode is going to be a little bit different because two of you are faithfuls. Now, I sent you all a little message prior to this episode. Two of you are faithfuls and one of you is a traitor. Now, throughout this episode, obviously, you've got to figure out who the traitor is. And as the traitor, this is your time to deceive and to throw people off your trail. And the faithfuls, you've got to figure out who's being suspicious. Do you all think you can guess who the traitor is?
The thing is, I always think that I've got it right, and I'm always wrong. But I do always just sort of guess everyone until I get it right at some point.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Maybe.
We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, today there's only one, and there's only one shot. So, the stakes are high. This is like a final kind of episode. Ben, how good are you at sussing people out?
They have no chance.
No chance?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know which of you it is, but I know it's one of you and you're dead.
Tara, what about you?
I always think that I'm right and then I'm wrong, or I'm like completely off track, but I'll be so dead set on, like I'll go in thinking I know who it is, like even now I think I know who it is, but then I'm completely wrong.
Yeah. Exciting. Well, this obviously wouldn't be Surviving with Unglossed if it weren't for an expert voice. So today we're going to be hearing from Dr. Laura Dean, who's a practicing occupational psychologist. She's a senior university teacher in work psychology here in Sheffield. And she's also the president-elect of the British Psychological Society, and she's a huge fan of The Traitors. So she's very kindly given us some really valuable insights into some of the things that we're discussing today. So we'll be hearing from her throughout this episode. Now, to start off, if you guys went on the show and you were given the option, would you choose to be a traitor or a faithful? Tara, let's start with you.
See, my answer is I can go with either. Like, I don't really know, because I would want to be faithful just because I don't think I could go on for that long and lie. I'm not that good of a liar. But then I'd also want to be traitor because it's like I could be a faithful and get killed and I'm just... it's out of my control completely, whereas at least traitors have a little bit of control.
Do you think that like element of control and being able to kind of decide what happens, is that something that you'd want to take part in? Or
I think I would, because especially with the traitors, you're going in for money at the end of the day, and obviously a lot of them go in with like a reason why they want the money, whether it's for their family, for their kids or whatever. So I feel like traitor, you do have a bit, it is more in your control. As faithful, you could get murdered at any point for not doing anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What about you, Kira?
I would want to be a faithful. I would not want to be a traitor. I think I would feel too stressed to enjoy the whole process if I was a traitor, because I would lose track of what I've said. Number one, what lies I've said. I would crumble if anyone like looked at me and were like, "You're a traitor." I wouldn't be able to hack it. And I also do just think you're more likely to win if you're a faithful, because even if you've got that control, I think normally, like the only time previously that traitors won, I think, was when Harry won, and that was just a bit silly from Molly, to be honest.
That's true.
So I just think you're more likely to win if you're a faithful. But again, I do get what you're saying.
Yeah. Ben, I don't know what you would pick. I really can't tell, but tell us, what would you go for?
I think I'd be indispensable as a traitor. I feel like it would be a poor reflection on the show if they didn't pick me to be a traitor. But
what if that's an obvious choice then?
Yeah, I feel like you're quite a suspicious being. Like, I think I would be suspicious of you straight away.
All right, we're coming out with accusations.
The thing is, I'm so fundamentally ambiguous that you would never be able to distinguish between me as a traitor and me as a faithful.
It's true.
That's my whole strategy for the show. Like, I'm just going to wait until one of you makes a mistake
and then kill you. At
Would
the
you
end of the
say-
show.
Would you say you're,
Interesting, Ben.
would you say you're good at lying?
No.
No? But I mean, surely to be a traitor, you've got to lie, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Are you,
I don't
are you,
lie.
are you good liars?
I don't think I'm very good
No,
at liar.
I'm not. I start giggling.
Yeah. Also,
Mm.
I go a bit red, and that's something I can't even control. It's like
Mm.
if I
Yeah.
don't believe what I'm saying, then it's just obvious. I think.
I
from
think
the
I would
get-go.
just really have to go in with like I need to mentally prepare myself to lie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what about when it comes to sussing out liars? How do you guys fare with that? Are you good at spotting liars in day-to-day life, in like real world situations?
I think so. I mean, I'd like to think so, but I guess you wouldn't. You wouldn't
I think
know.
it depends on who it is because
Yeah.
like my close friends or like my family, I can tell when they're lying because you
Mm.
know
Mm.
them. Whereas people that I don't really know as much, and obviously in the Traitors you don't really know these people.
Yeah.
You don't know their little. I feel like when everyone lies, they always have like a little thing where you can tell they're lying. Like
Mm.
maybe they're like using their hands a lot or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just depends.
Well, this is what Dr. Laura Dean said about what makes a good liar.
So first of all, why are some people better at lying? What impacts that? What influences that? Essentially, a lot of this is simply down to practice, and not necessarily in a sort of malicious way, but some people have to navigate really complicated social environments. Some people have difficult relationships or difficult jobs. We've got to remember that lying isn't always a bad thing. It's actually a social skill, and it's something that we look for in children to ensure that they're developing normally. The ability to lie usually indicates high intelligence in children. So we all lie sometimes. Sometimes it's about smoothing over tension. Sometimes it's about protecting people's feelings. But people that are good at lying tend to be confident. They tend to have high emotional control. They tend to have empathy, so the ability to read other people. So, people who are highly empathetic, perhaps surprisingly, can make really great liars because they understand what other people want to hear.
Now, obviously, on shows like The Traitors, it's not just about lying, but it's about how you portray yourself and your kind of persona. So if you guys were the traitor and you had to deceive other people, what kind of persona would you want to portray that you think would do that effectively? Ban, let's start with you.
I guess if I was trying to be a traitor, I suppose I would want people to perceive me as like a caregiver. Because they will come to you vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and then if they're at the most vulnerable, you can kind of manipulate them, I guess. But at the same,
Like the parent of the group.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, almost like fatherly or motherly.
Yeah. Tara, what about you?
Yeah, I think I would go for more of a loyal friend, and I'm friends with everyone. I'm not really on anyone's bad side. I talk to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can drop yourself into certain conversations, and if you were a traitor, you can kind of be like steer the conversation away from you, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would work. I just think sometimes I get suspicious of people when they're friends with everyone because it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can't like be with everyone and not get on their bad side, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't know, I think I'd be a bit suspicious of that.
Do you think those kinds of people are fake?
I think they're probably in some way, like
Mhm.
not necessarily in a bad way, just like sometimes you can't love everyone, you can't, because everyone's got such different personalities. I think you can get on with everyone for sure,
Yeah.
but like being like good friends with someone, especially in that kind of environment in the Traitors, I think it would just seem a little bit odd. I do understand it's good to be like on everyone's good side, to like hear what's going on and to not make yourself a target, but I just think sometimes if you have made yourself a target, it sort of makes you seem less suspicious, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I think
If you don't pick a side and you're just friends with everyone, then it kind of seems it almost seems a little too friendly.
like if you pick a side, you've established a position.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pick a position, you can just float from one thing to the other and never have any real loyalty.
Yeah, but then I also think, like, especially in last season, there was like a group where they formed I think there was like 4 of them. They formed a very strong group, and like this was go on. There was suspicion on one of them, so then everyone else, all the other faithfuls, assumed that they were all traitors. So I
That's
think
true.
that's why I wouldn't want to stick to like a close friend group and
Yeah.
choose sides.
And what about in the real world? Do you do you conceal your personality at times? And if so, why do you do that?
It depends where I am, and also it depends if I'm comfortable or not. If I'm comfortable with people, then no. I think you will. I can be a bit of a weirdo sometimes. But yeah, when I'm not very comfortable in situations, I will definitely kind of mute myself down a bit, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think that's also quite a normal thing. I think a lot of people do that, unless you're really like just so self-confident you don't care what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
I think it's so normal in settings where you're not quite sure in other people's personalities to just want to sort of blend in and work it out.
Yeah.
Do you guys think anyone's being fake right now? Kira?
Someone's being fake. Someone's a traitor.
Tara hasn't.
Someone here is.
Tara
being
hasn't
fake.
answered. Did you answer?
Tara did answer. She
I
did
have
answer. Yeah.
answered.
He was just too busy thinking of his answer.
Yeah.
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 But this is what Dr. Dean said about how and why we conceal our personality.
There are lots of reasons why people might want to conceal their true personality, particularly in the workplace. We're pressured to conform to expectations in the workplace. You know, we're expected to be professional. We're expected to be, you know, agreeable or not show emotion in the workplace. So hiding your real feelings is an important part of that. It's an important skill to be able to do. It helps us to avoid conflict. It helps us protect our status. It helps us stay in control. And we would refer to that as impression management in psychology. Now, interestingly, as somebody who works in selection and assessment, one of the things that we've tested in the past in selection and assessment is people's personality. And when we've been doing those personality tests, traditionally, there's been something called a lie scale in there. And that was really to check whether people were answering the questionnaires accurately or not. But in more recent years, in the last couple of decades, we've removed that idea of it being a lie scale and instead thought about in terms of impression management instead. And that's just another personality feature. We want some people to be able to impression manage very well. We don't want, for example, our doctor to be brutally honest and look scared and frightened before they operate on us. Even if they feel like that, we want them to be able to present in a particular way. For certain jobs, we need people to be able to impression manage quite well. You know, the people selling used cars need to be able to impression manage. So it is a useful feature for a lot of jobs to be able to impression manage. However, I want to also dig into one specific group, and that is people who are autistic, and they might be doing more of that, more from an attempt to fit in with society and to be accepted either in wider society or in the workplace, and we would call that masking. Now, the difference is that people who are good at impression management and like impression management don't find that difficult, whereas people who are masking are actually covering up the way they are, and there's a lot of emotional regulation involved in that. There's a lot of resource in that, and it can be very draining for people. So whilst they're pretending to be one way in a specific environment to suit the other people in that environment, it's very draining for that individual, and they can't keep it up for long periods of time. So we want we want people to be able to be their true selves in workplace. Sometimes maybe not that scared doctor making you scared as a patient, but for most times we want the workplace to be a safe place for people to be themselves and to show their true personality.
I never really thought about that, but there is a lot of situations in real life where you do have to conceal your personality in some ways, and I think a lot of jobs where you have to do that. On this show, obviously, there are a lot of accusations, and there have already been some accusations in this episode. How do you feel about making accusations and having a hunch and not being 100% certain that you're right?
I think for me, I like to keep my accusations in my head because I'd like to think so anyway. I mainly keep them in my head because I do, in the back of my mind, there was always like, are you just jumping to conclusions here? But obviously on something like the Traitors, every night you have to point fingers at people. Yeah. And I think I would struggle with feeling guilt if I was responsible for like voting someone out that was a faithful. So
yeah, especially in such a high stress, high emotion situation like that, I think especially when they have to towards the start, they have to base it on their personalities that they've seen, and I think looking someone dead in the eye and being like, your personality is just a bit suspicious, I think I'm going to vote for you. I think I'd feel so bad. I'd feel
what
so
kinds
guilty.
of people would you find suspicious?
Well, that's the thing. I think especially in that situation as well, I'd find everyone suspicious, and I think I'd be over-analysing them to the max. I do think Potentially someone who's a bit louder, trying to sort of navigate the room a bit more. I think I'd feel a bit more suspicious of, especially towards the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think if I was on the Traitors, I would suspect literally everyone at some point.
Yeah.
I think I'd be unsettled by the opposite.
I was about to say
Quiet.
that. Yeah.
Someone just sort of, it's almost like, you know, you have that thing in the corner of your eye, and then you try to shift it to the center of your eye so you can see it clearly, but it moves away again, always in the periphery. That, I think there are people like that, and they're always there, but they're never exactly in the front, and that's where you're most likely to get hit from, on the side.
Yeah.
As far as accusations go in this episode so far, is there any progress? Is there any developments, any changes to who you think is suspicious so far? Tara?
No, I'd say I've still got the same person in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm still in the same. Yeah.
Ben, are you still dead set?
Honestly, I was certain, but I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
Well, things change. And there is still a little bit more to change. Now, how do you guys feel about convincing other people of something that you believe? Like this kind of groupthink where you've got to put your narrative forward and get other people on board. Have you ever had to do that?
I mean, I kind of mentioned it in the last episode. I'm not really the type of person to really push for my ideas to go forward. I will say my piece, and then whatever you choose to do with your information, that's fine. But I'm not really the type of person to be like, no, I think it's definitely this person.
Yeah.
I just kind of say it and then let them do whatever they want with that.
Ben, what about you? Are you convincing other people?
I don't think I'm that convincing, to be honest. I mean, either you know that I'm right, or you're wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't really try to convince you. I'm not very. I don't think I'm a very convincing person, to be honest.
But also, I feel like with you, you're very dead set in your thoughts. So I feel like I would be convinced because I'm like, well, he seems very certain in what he's saying. So like, I'd go with that.
So you're kind of you feel fooled by my certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an air of certainty.
Yeah,
about it.
because even just then when you were saying, oh, I know exactly who the traitor is, I'm like, well, maybe he does. So maybe I'll see what he says and then I'll go with that.
So if Ben told you to vote for Kira...
Probably.
Wow. No loyalty, no friendship. Not
What
in the
if I told you to
Traitors.
vote for Tara, Kira?
I don't know. I'm going between thinking I am dead set on things, like, and I am quite strong in my opinions, to then sometimes I do change my mind all the time. Like I think it depends on the situation and what it is. But in terms of trying to convince people things, yeah, I feel like I'm happy for people to believe what they believe, as long as you can have a conversation on it and sort of just chat about it. But if it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a situation where I might have convinced someone to do something. I mean, with like, my friends, like, I try and convince them all the time to do stuff and like, let's go out, let's have fun. I think I can be convincing in that way, but not necessarily in like a thought.
So you can be manipulative, Kira?
No, maybe. I'm like, maybe, because I am sort of like, this is the last time we're together, we've got to make the most of it.
Kira
so.
convinced me to get a tattoo the other
Yeah,
day,
I
so
did.
I think
Okay.
Maybe I
that
am
must
quite
count
convincing.
for something.
Yeah.
It didn't take much though, it really
It
didn't.
didn't take much, to be fair. I'm quite
Fair
easily
enough.
convinced.
And what about situations in real life where we have to make judgments or make decisions with limited information or input? Do you feel like you've had to make some decisions like that where it could turn out to be wrong, but you kind of just have to go with it?
You know, leadership is like 80% actually making a choice and 20% actually knowing if it's the right choice. All you have to do is like take a decision
It's true.
and then carry it through confidently. You don't actually know if it's going to go well. So I
It's
think
true.
I've been in leadership positions before where I had no idea what was going to happen. But I was just like, guys, calm down, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Like you kind of just have to stick with that.
But I don't feel I had no more certainty than them. And I didn't feel like I was more deserving of a leadership position. I was just the one to say, guys, let's just try something.
This is what groupthink is all about when we kind of make these decisions as part of a group. So this is how Dr. Dean explains it.
So groupthink, why does this happen and how common is it? Groupthink really happens when there is a desire for harmony over truth in a workplace. So, people stay quiet or they agree just to keep the peace. It does happen a lot. It happens more in organisations which are hierarchical or in high pressure settings. So it's something that environments like the military need to be very mindful of, because they want to have spaces for people to speak up if necessary, and routes for those types of things. So we want to encourage whistleblowing in organisations of those types, because it can be that people aren't challenging things that they should be challenging there. The people who are better at resisting group things are people who are generally more confident, people who are more comfortable with conflict, and we all have different conflict preferences. Some people are quite resistant to any conflict at all, but conflict can be a valuable thing. The Traitors as a game show is essentially a case study in groupthink. We can see there that once a dominant voice asserts themselves, and that usually is the confident person, and often, as we see, that is the traitor, one of the traitors, they create an environment in which dissent becomes dangerous for the other people. And so even if they are not thinking along the same lines, then they're much less likely to speak up.
Tara, on previous episodes, you've said that you don't really look for, or that you kind of avoid conflict on like Love Island and things like that. How would you feel on the Traitors? That's a slightly different dynamic.
Yeah, I feel like the Traitors is slightly different. I mean, I'm still not the type of person to start a conflict or really be involved in it, but I think the Traitors is slightly different because you do have to kind of go around and point fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like Kira said, I don't think I would go too hard on someone unless I was certain, or again, the other way around, if I really didn't think someone was a faithful, I probably wouldn't. I probably would say, I don't think.
Yeah. And what if you found someone threatening? How would you feel, or how would you react with people like that around you?
Well, it depends if I'm a traitor or a faithful, because if I was a faithful...
Interesting.
Guys, don't.
Well, it's a good consideration, because in this, hypothetically, we've got to consider all possible options. So how would you go about both ways?
So obviously if I was a traitor, but also you have to be careful, because if someone is suspicious of, if I was a traitor and someone was suspicious of me and they've actively voiced that they're suspicious of me, you can't really get rid of them, because that just makes you look even more suspicious.
Yeah.
If I was a faithful and someone was suspicious of me, I mean, what can you really do? Like, if they're throwing your name around, and the only thing you can do is just be like, I promise it's not me.
Yeah, I'm looking you in the eye and I'm telling you it's not me.
I'm telling you I'm faithful.
What if you found someone threatening, Kira?
Well, if I was a traitor... Yeah, that's the thing. You can't kill them. You have to make them look suspicious, so that then people get rid of them for you. But then you don't want to be seen to be doing it. Like, you have to sort of do a Harry and, like, throw another traitor under the bus, essentially. That's what he did. But, yeah, if I was a faithful... I think, again, it is hard to not get sort of accused of being a traitor, even if you are a faithful, and there's not much else you can do. Yeah, I think you'd have to be quite clever to get away with that.
And Ben, in real life situations, have you ever felt threatened by someone? Like, what were those situations like when there was someone that made you feel threatened and you had to kind of respond to that?
In like an emotional way or a mugging? Because I've been through both.
I'd say in this case, probably more the emotional way. Although I'd love to hear your story about getting mugged.
Yeah, it happened next to Domino's Pizza in under those big wooden castles in the playground.
Oh yeah,
happened under that.
Oh, okay.
Stole my BlackBerry.
Oh no.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I miss BlackBerry.
I miss BlackBerry, to be fair.
I never had one.
Did you ever play that brick
Bring
game?
back keyboards on phones.
And Snake.
Yeah.
Snake.
Emotionally though, someone threatening me. I genuinely think conflict more often than not can bring about a definitive end to something. When no one's talking and when everyone's just sort of weaseling about, that is when you tend to produce a greater deal of treachery. I think a conflict in these situations could be good because it can just bring about truth to the table. Everything's laid bare.
Yeah.
So I'd almost rather be threatened than have someone surreptitiously undermine me.
Yeah. And what kinds of people do you find threatening generally? Like traits-wise or behaviors? Are there any specific things that you find threatening or that make you uncomfortable?
I think because I'm in general, quite a quiet person, I think I get not uncomfortable, but I do feel a bit threatened when someone is very loud. Like the loudest person in the room does threaten me a little bit because I'm usually the quietest person in the room.
So this is what Dr. Dean had to say about how we perceive other people as threats.
So why do we view some people as threats? Essentially, we're hardwired to do that. Our brains are wired to scan for outsiders. We have evolved to like the people that are like ourselves, to protect our own genes in the wider environment, so to do things more for people that look like ourselves, behave more like ourselves, because the likelihood is that we share genes with them. So we're naturally averse to people who feel different to us. So we have this in-group and out-group mentality. That said, you can create in-groups and out-groups, and there are some great experiments that show the impact of this. Sheriff Robert Cave experiment is a really interesting and fun thing that people might want to have a look into, that looks at that in-group and out-group experience. But in terms of why we go that step further and think of some people as a threat, we feel threatened when somebody challenges who we are, whether they challenge our control or they challenge our status or our sense of belonging or identity. So that can be because somebody's super confident. It can be because they're unpredictable. It might be just that they're very different from the group norm. And sometimes we see that in the Traitors, where we see somebody who actually just behaves slightly different to the other people in that group, and then they are targeted, even though they're not a likely candidate to be the traitor. The group may round on them and evict them from the castle.
Do you guys feel like these people that you don't expect, do you find them to be more threatening generally than the kinds of obvious choices?
I think every year on the Traitors you see the person who's always a faithful get voted out because they're kind of quiet, they're quite intelligent, and they have like that intelligent vibe, and that for some reason that automatically makes people suspicious of them, just because that their thinking is probably that they're smart enough to be a traitor, so it probably is them. So
yeah, I agree. I do think like that every single time there has been someone that's more quiet, more observant, and is like sort of classically intelligent that gets voted off. I think the first person that got voted off last time was voted off for those reasons. So yeah.
Now, Ben, as a quiet and intelligent person, do you have a response to that?
I feel the winds have sort of turned against me.
I mean, you know,
so I'm going to drop a bombshell.
This is your time.
A bombshell?
A bombshell?
Yeah.
What's the bombshell?
It's Kira. It's 100%.
Well, we haven't got to that stage yet.
Yeah, I know that we haven't, but I decided to drop a bombshell as a plea.
Okay.
Interesting.
Because I genuinely
as a plea
feel...
or a way of manipulating.
A way to divert attention.
Because I genuinely feel as if I didn't realise it until we came on the podcast, but I seem like such a suspicious individual.
Yeah.
Now that I've been around 3 people who aren't suspicious, I realise that I am suspicious.
You are.
But, you
So
know,
how
that's
does that
what
make
they've
me
just been
suspicious?
saying.
Yeah.
That's just what they've been saying. The quiet, smart type of person, they get voted off because they're suspicious. But they were faithful all along.
I know.
So, you know, how do you feel that, you know, you could be a traitor, but you could also just be a faithful and a misunderstood faithful?
I genuinely, even if I was a traitor, which I'm not, again, I'm not.
Okay.
Even if I was a traitor, I would not recalibrate my strategy. I want to force people into making a 50-50 decision. My honesty will befuddle the traitor.
Will it?
Yes.
Do you think?
Honestly.
Now, obviously, we don't know who you are.
Mind you, if I was a traitor, that plea could have equally been another strategy to fool Tara or Kira.
Exactly. So on that note, do you guys feel befuddled?
Honestly, kind of.
You do.
Right now.
See?
So it's working.
No, honestly, Bella, I'm a little bit confused right
I'm
now.
a little confused.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, why don't we explain why don't you all explain who you think the traitor is? you can have a little pitch to the rest of the group and explain why you would vote one of these other players off the game. Who wants to start?
Ben,
I'm
do
not
you
going to
wanna
pick
start?
anyone,
I
but
guess you've already thrown a name.
do you want to elaborate further? Yeah, actually. Do you
Yeah,
wanna,
I'd like to know one.
Do you want to
Yeah.
elaborate further?
Kira has great posture.
Oh,
Mhm.
thank you.
Nice.
I've been trying. I can't lie.
Traitors
good.
always have good posture. Have you ever seen a traitor that didn't have good posture? Like someone's just...
No.
Mm.
All traitors have good posture. If you watch a movie and you see like the scheming eunuchs behind the emperor, great posture. Always with their hands folded. She has her hands in front of her right now.
I do.
It's Kira.
Mm. I wonder why that is.
Interesting.
And
I
Tara
think-
seems kind of like a... I don't know. I just instinctively trust you.
Oh, that's nice, Ben.
Oh.
Not that I don't trust you, Kira.
That's lovely.
I feel
Okay.
like you could barbershop Sweeney Todd me, you know?
Oh.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you, Ben. So we know who you find suspicious. We know who you would vote for. Tara, what about you?
I'm actually going to go with Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've just said it before. I think the person that is quiet and intelligent is always going to be suspicious. It is to me. You're always going to
Yeah.
be suspicious. I said it at the beginning. And I just think you say... Well, I feel like I'm being mean right now.
No, there is no
No
meanness,
bad blood here,
all
Ben.
honesty.
It's all for the episode.
Yeah.
I think you are saying big claims and you are just saying it with confidence and
Mhm.
hoping people will go with you. But I'm not going to fall for it. I think it's you.
You're not buying it.
And I think it's interesting that as soon as you got thrown under the bus, you immediately defected to Kira.
Okay.
And I'm clocking it.
Mm.
He's got something else to
Go
say.
on, say it.
Go on.
It might just be Tara, you know? This
See,
is
he's deflected again.
Because this is excellent strategy, because I've accused Kira. She will instinctively turn against me. Now she's put herself on the side of Kira.
He's deflected
I was
again.
in between. Initially, I thought it was Ben, and this is because I was like, again, like I said, overthinking everything and over-analysing everything. But when
Mhm.
you were speaking about traitors, you looked at us when you said faithfuls and Ben when you said traitor. So I thought it was a bit of a Linda moment
Oh,
happening.
It's a Claudia moment.
That
But
has been
sub-
random, to be fair. where I'm looking.
subconscious.
Mm.
And so I was like, And
Mm.
then Ben said he did something earlier. I can't remember what it was, and I was like, that's traitor vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I feel like to accuse me, I don't think I seem like a traitor, but then I guess I wouldn't because I know I'm a faithful.
Said every traitor ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, I think Tara would be a good traitor because Ben is too obvious. So maybe Tara would be good because people don't expect her. So now
Mm.
I've just sort of overthought it enough to confuse myself.
Mm.
And now I'm not too sure.
It's a confusing game, to be fair, because then it's true, because then I
Yeah.
could say the same for you, because Ben
Yeah.
is too obvious.
Now, Tara, you've been accused a little bit now. How would you
Hmm.
respond?
I don't know how to respond. Like,
Mm.
it's not me.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else left to say from either of you, from any of you? Or is it time to...
I just
To
actually
cast
What's
your
your
don't
final
know.
vote, Kira?
I don't know.
To be fair, there's no one. It's everyone's voted for each other.
Yeah.
technically.
This is what I mean. I overthink it and then I get it wrong anyway.
Mm.
Well, if it's by thinking or by going with your gut, all three of you have to make a decision on who you would vote out. Who should we start with?
See, now I'm stressed.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, why don't we start with you? You've been very outspoken in these last few minutes. Who are you casting your vote for?
Dude, it's Tara. I got it
Tara?
wrong. It's 100% Tara now.
Okay. Kira, who would you vote for?
I don't know. Because I don't know whether to go with my gut
Mm-hmm.
or go with... That was a suspicious look.
I was looking at myself.
That was suspicious. No,
There's
I'm
a
going to
lot
go
of
Ben.
suspicion
I'm going to
in
go
this room.
Ben.
You're voting for Ben.
And Tara, I'm never speaking to you again if it's
Oh
you.
my God.
Okay. And lastly, Tara, who do you think is the traitor?
I'm going Ben.
Ben?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Would the traitor please reveal themselves?
It's me, guys. Tara Nagra
That's
is
so
the traitor.
annoying.
You've fooled them. Well done,
Oh,
Tara.
I really thought I had it until Ben said it's me, right, like 2 minutes ago.
That was a real
Well, you did have it in
curveball.
the end.
That was a real
I did have it in the
curveball.
end, to be fair.
Well, no, actually,
It's me.
yeah.
But it's nice to know that you think I'm trusting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you guys were talking about this, the quiet, smart contestant turned out to be a faithful. Well, is there anything that you guys would do differently?
I'd vote Tara.
But strategy-wise? Or Tara? Well, you've done well strategy-wise.
Thank you.
But Ben, you got voted off.
I'd lie more.
You'd lie more?
I would.
What would you say?
Because as a faithful, I need to I realize as a faithful, if you get towards the end stage, you need to identify the faithful and then bring them on your side. And even if your personality might lead them to suspicion that you're the one, so you have to bring them on side. So there's an element of lying to being a faithful as well.
Yeah.
That's very true,
I
actually.
thought you were lying at one point when you said Kira the first time. I was like, is he just saying that to make me get a sense of comfort and be like, oh yeah, it's Kira, and then I'd let my guard down. But then you still went for Kira. I was like, oh, fairs. But that did make me second guess.
Yeah.
I don't really think I had a strategy, to be honest. I was using the overthinking strategy of Adam looked at and it was just completely wrong. So there we go.
Well, well done, Tara.
Thank you.
You would have won the cash prize.
Thanks, guys.
So maybe you should apply for the next season.
Maybe I should.
Yeah. Who
There we
knows?
go.
Maybe we'll see you in the Scottish Highlands in the
You will.
castle
See
with
you next
Claudia.
year.
Well done, Tara.
Give my best to Claudia.
I will do.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's all for today. Thank you all so much for listening and watching and following Unglossed. And we will catch you in the next episode of Surviving with Unglossed, which is yet to be decided what the theme will be. But it's going to be something just as exciting as today has been. So once again, and thank you all for coming on today. I hope you've had a lovely time.
Yeah, loved it.
I've had a great time. Thanks, Adam.
It's been lovely discussing the Traitors and playing this little game with you all. So thank you all, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.